6650.
And
This
good morning,
Mixed TV
everyone.
interview is supplied by Wholesale Supply Group. Visit us online at wholesalesupply.us.
We're on.
People informed.
You got it. Senator Marsha Blackburn, of course, there in Washington. And, you know, there's so much to talk about. I just want to get to it. And I know you are very concerned. The Tennessee delegation held a press conference about this illegal alien in Tennessee and the rape of Tennessee children. Would you tell me about that, please?
Yes, this deals with a soccer coach and soccer referee. He was there in Franklin, and it turns out the guy was in the country illegally for about 20 years, and he had some infractions with the law, some run-ins, but he was never deported, and so we have written. And subsequently, he groomed these children, then drugged them and raped them, and videoed his molesting and assault of these children. And he left his phone at a restaurant. Some of the staff there picked the phone up. They were trying to figure out who the phone belonged to, and they saw these videos, and they turned it over to the police, and the police quickly arrested the guy. And as it turns out, we've found out that he has been in the country for this 20-year period, and the crimes that he has committed against children. And Steve, I have to tell you, as a mother, a grandmother, hearing about this, to me, this is just devastating. And this should not be a partisan issue. Dealing with these criminal, illegal aliens that are coming into communities. And, you know, when you've got these gotaways that Border Patrol tells us, we don't know who all these people are and where they're coming from and why they're coming in the country, and they evade arrest at the border. And so then they end up in our communities. Every town's a border town. Every state a border state. And so I said, let's write Secretary Mayorkas and see if we can find out why ICE never detained or deported this man, and he lived for 20 years in this community. And it's astounding. He passed a background check to be a soccer referee. How did that happen, that he was able to pass a background check? And questions that Tennesseans want answers to. We have a lot of people that have contacted us saying, can we get some answers to this? A lot of parents that want to know. So we're waiting for some answers from the Department of Homeland Security, and I was so pleased that all the members of our delegation joined me in this letter.
We are joined by Senator Marsha Blackburn, live from Washington. And so what, in your estimation, what needs to happen here? I mean, what's the solution?
Well, when you look at the broader picture, Steve, the solution is to give Border Patrol what they've been telling us they need. And that is they need a physical barrier or a wall at the border. Then where you cannot have a wall, they need to have better technology so that they can catch people. See, these cartels that are running the border on the Mexico side, and you don't come into the country through the southern border unless you pay the cartel. Well, these cartels are global businesses. Last year, 176 different countries were identified as having people crossing the border, 176. Human trafficking has gone from being a $500 million a year business in 2019 to being a, get this, $13 billion a year business last year. That's what you're seeing. That's the amount of growth. And the drug trafficking, the fentanyl, I visit with each of our 95 counties every year. I'm in every county in this state every year. and I hear from every one of our law enforcement officers, fentanyl is the drug that is kind of the main drug that these cartels are pushing. It ends up on our street. The majority of the drug cases, the amount of drugs that are apprehended, it is fentanyl or fentanyl laced, and it's coming from the cartels. And law enforcement knows this. If you were to go ask the sheriff's office, tell me about what you're seeing with drugs, they would tell you it's fentanyl, meth. They're not busting meth labs in Tennessee anymore because the drug dealers have linked up with the cartels. And you can go down to Atlanta, and that's where the cartels have a hub, and then they're running those drugs up into East Tennessee.
We're joined by Senator Marsha Blackburn live from Washington. I guess in the same area, the same topic is the Remain in Mexico bill. Would you tell me about that, please?
Yeah, President Trump had the Remain in Mexico policy, which meant that you couldn't come here seeking asylum until you had cleared all of the requirements to seek asylum. Well, and you had to stay in Mexico. And that is one of the reasons that the numbers of illegal crossings were down under President Trump, because people knew they weren't going to clear that claim, and they would turn around and head back home because they knew this was not going to work out for them. And President Biden has ended that. It's just like they've announced that they're going to end DNA testing, which is another bill that I have, because 30% of the kids that are being presented with adults at that southern border are children that are being trafficked. Now think about that. 30% of all the adults that walk up and they've got a child by the hand, that child is not their child. That child is what they called a recycled child. There is a concept the cartels use called child recycling. And what they do is to take a child, they put it with a cartel member they're trying to get in. And bear in mind, these cartels have hubs across the country where they run their human trafficking, sex trafficking, gangs, labor trafficking. They run them out of those hubs. So they will take a child, put them with the adult, and then they turn around and they send that child back to whatever country. They'll send them back across the border, and then they'll turn around and they'll send that child with another member of the cartel that they're trying to get into the company. And to me, there again, as a mom and a grandmom, to hear about this child recycling and the way these children are being subjected to this, it's just, it's so revolting. And these poor children, think about what their life is like. So these are all issues we're trying to get to the bottom of. It's things we have legislation that would deal with it. We're grateful that we have good people in our delegation in the House that are working with us, trying to push them forward in the House so we can push the Democrat leadership in the Senate to bring these bills forward.
We're joined by Senator Marsha Blackburn. Senator, we just have less than a couple of minutes left here. Just want to get your reaction to former President Trump's statement on his social media platform that he's the target. He got a letter that he's the target of a January 6th investigation. Just your thoughts on what he has said.
You know, Steve, Tennessee summed it up pretty well for me. This was a guy, small business owner, didn't vote for President Trump, but he said, you know, I look at what has happened there, and I think, how would I be conducting myself if I had been accused for 7 years of doing things that I never did, that I knew were not true, that I knew they were lying about me, lying about my family. And I think this guy said, he was talking about how unfair he thought 2 tiers of justice was, and what a disservice it was to the American people to think that whether it's the FBI, the DOJ, the IRS, that it could be weaponized against any of us at any point if we're not part of the elite, if our name's not Clinton or Biden. And that troubles people. They want 1 tier of justice, and they want to make certain that you have equal access to the federal government, that you have equal treatment by the federal government, and that there is equal justice under the law for all.
Senator Marsha Blackburn, I really appreciate you joining us, Senator. Thank you.
You got it. Take care. Bye now.